Hello and welcome to the debate show all about sustainability. We have a bumper show coming up, including students from across broadcast and journalism who'll be here with me today to talk about some of their important topics and show some of those their research. Some of those topics include fast fashion, plastics and travel. Also throughout the show, we're going to be having some fun and quite shocking facts that will be popping up from time to time, so keep your eye out for them. But first, sustainability. What is it and what is it all about? Well, let's take a look.
As things stand, we are facing our very own impending disaster, climate change. If we do not take action soon, the collapse of our civilization will become an urgent threat to health, food supplies, biodiversity and livelihood across the globe. The concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is the highest it has been in human history. Not only are we pumping more and more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, but mass deforestation is removing the most efficient filter for those gases, removing valuable oxygen supply at the same time. If the average global temperature increases beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius, risks of further sea level rise, extreme weather, biodiversity loss and species extinction and poverty for millions of people worldwide may leave irreversible damage. Energy is what we need for everyday life. We use it for cooking, washing, driving, travel, and electrics that we have around our house. Energy consumption globally is around 58 million trillion joules annually. Renewable energy like wind, sun, or organic material are more resourceful and will last a lot longer than fossil fuels, such as coal, petroleum, natural gas, and heavy oils. A huge issue is when we burn fossil fuels in factories. The ozone layer is destroyed, which protects us from the powerful rays from the sun. As a result of the Earth getting hotter, the water is getting hotter in the oceans, making the water vapours block the heat from escaping and causing global warming. Installing solar panels to all homes, buildings and places that need energy, it's proven that the sun can produce 10,000 times more power than the entire world population utilises. Since the first introduction in 1907, increase in production of plastic has led to 404 million tonnes of plastic being made in 65 years, from unsustainable sources such as crude oil, gas or coal. We use this synthetic plastic for many things from bottles to clothing. Unfortunately, 50% of all plastic products are not recycled or incinerated, rather left to go to landfill or worse, left to pollute our rivers and oceans. National Geographic stated that there are more than 5 trillion pieces of plastic in our oceans, and due to this, over 1 million marine animals are killed every year. This waste either almost never decomposes or turns into microplastics, contaminating our waters and sea creatures. Small steps to reduce this contamination have been taken globally, but this is the tip of an iceberg.
Our first guest is Travis Wright, and he'll be speaking all about the carbon neutral project that the Premier League are doing. Let's take a look.
Did you know? Environmental sustainability facts show that enough plastic is thrown away each year to cycle the Earth 4 times. Not a lot of people know that.
There's nothing more important today than climate change, an issue which is rapidly progressing across the world. It's something that we need to change. Sky decided to do this by hosting the first net zero match, which was between Tottenham and Chelsea. This was at Tottenham's brand new stadium, and it involved lots of different ways that the production teams in terms of Sky and also the fans had to contribute to net zero. The game itself had completely food vendors, which are perfectly for vegan food and something that's really good for the environment. In terms of some of the Sky production team, they were reducing the amount of miles that that some of the teams would be taking. That would include in terms of equipment, lighting, etc. There is a massive public support going around for net zero, and it actually reduced the amount of cars that were able to attend the match. Where a lot of people choosing public transport, which was really good for emissions and things like that. A lot of actually the Sky Country team decided to cycle as well directly from their location that they were in London. So it really did benefit. And it's something that is an issue that really does need to be talked about. And Sky was the perfect platform to produce that game and also really create more awareness around climate change.
Hello, Travis.
Hello.
You all right?
Yeah.
So give me a description of what this project is. What is it all about?
So it's all about kind of the investigative kind of opinion of Premier League football and what it's doing with its branding of Game Zero.
What Premier League club is doing this?
So only Tottenham Hotspur at the moment, but the Premier League are looking to expand that to different clubs across kind of the EFL as well. But at the moment it's only Tottenham Hotspur and a few games.
So what does it include, this project for the game?
So Game Zero, as it's branded, includes vegan food, more vegan food options, encouraging public transport use, increasing parking charges as well, to dissuade people from taking cars. And it's worked so far. 54,000 more miles have gone into public transport. And about, I think, 14,000 lost from cars. So it's working really well for the Premier League. And obviously the whole aim is to offset the carbon emissions that are produced.
Do you know how much money this cost to do this? Was it quite expensive? Or?
Yeah, it was a relatively expensive scheme, but they have managed to secure government funding of about 5 million to put into it, to plant the trees, et cetera, et cetera.
So do you think that this could be all clubs one day?
It could be, yeah. It will take a lot of effort,
Yeah.
take a lot of time, and we'll need probably new technology. Obviously Tottenham was picked because of their new stadium and how environmentally friendly it was made, like from the floodlights to even the buses that go into it.
Yeah. Cool, thank you very much for that, Travis.
Thank you.
Our next guest is Niall Wood, and his topic is all about festivals. Let's have a look at his production.
Did you know if just one person goes vegan, they can save approximately 219,000 gallons of water a year? Not a lot of people know that.
Too deep. I'm laying in this single bed, but I can't sleep. There must be more to life than Tinder swipes. I'm posting shit on Instagram for meaningless likes. Where I'm from.
I'm joined today by Mike from EAFN, which is the East Anglia Festival Network. Would you like to explain what you sort of do?
Hiya, yeah. A few years ago, I've been working at lots of different festivals across the region. I couldn't believe how we weren't talking to each other. You know, we weren't communicating. We weren't using local services, that sort of thing. You know, everyone kept to themselves. I thought I'd try and do something about it.
So my project is all based on the litter and everything left at festivals. What are your opinions on that?
Yeah, I just don't understand it. I've never understood it, and I've been, as you say about Glastonbury, I've been going to Glastonbury for 20 years.
Yeah.
And after the Strawberry Fair as well. You know, when we do Strawberry Fair, we go to Midsummer Common. People don't realise, but we actually clear up loads of litter before we actually start Strawberry Fair.
Yeah.
So that gets, it's all pristine, and then the day after, it's a nightmare. It's awful, and I just don't understand people's mentality. It's the same as when you go to a beach, you know, and you see litter on a beach.
Yeah.
Why on earth would you leave all your rubbish on a beach, and when there's bins a few yards away?
Do you have any ways that your company goes about doing a greener festival?
Okay, right. Well, sustainability, I said, is at the core of the EAFN. We're trying to get that message across to as many people as possible. We've got 700 plus festivals and fairs and fun days across the region, across the 4 counties. A lot of them are already involved in the Festival Vision 2025. We've got our own version of that at a lower level, which is called A Greener Future. And it's our way of looking at that, and it's in line with that. We're asking all our festivals to commit to reducing their environmental impact.
So if you could give one message to future festival goers, what would that message be?
Help us keep our sites clean. It makes everything so much better. It's such a nicer environment for everyone, and it makes it nicer for you as well. You know, you don't want to be stepping in someone else's rubbish. You know, don't throw away your tent stuff. You know, there's plenty of ways of recycling it. You know, reusing it. Give it to a charity that collects them to make it into all sorts of other lovely things. If you've got the money to dispose of something like that, you know, give it to someone who doesn't have that money, you know.
Thank you very much. I'll be sure to keep an eye out for all the future messages and stuff from your company and that. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
No problem. Just go on the website, eafn.co.uk.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Niall, you all right?
Right,
So
mate.
I'll ask you a few questions. Do you believe that festivals are damaging the planet?
I think in some ways, yes. But then they also help in a way because they bring people together. It distracts people, but then it also is damaging the planet quite a lot with all the litter. And then you've got to think of the travelling to get to the festival. So yeah, in a way, yes.
Yeah. So which is more important to you? Because you want to have fun with the festivals, but at the same time it's important. So do we just stop festivals altogether, or sort of
No way.
What's the way around this?
I think it's a hard one.
Yeah.
Because the festivals are trying to do their part, but then a lot of people aren't sticking to it and they're just leaving all their stuff everywhere, and it's not helping. But I don't think festivals should be stopped at all.
So what can we do then to make festivals better?
I think better signage. I've been to a lot of festivals and like there are bins everywhere.
Yeah.
But there's not the signs, and it's not sending the message through to people that they need to put their stuff in the bin.
Right, yeah. That's it. Thank you very much for that, Niall.
No worries, mate.
Our next guest is Kira, and her topic is all about travel. Let's have a look at VT.
Did you know that a tap leaking just 1 drip per second wastes more than 12,000 litres of water a year? And a 15-minute shower takes 25 to 50 gallons of water each time. Not a lot of people know that.
So going to Nepal, I had to get 2 separate planes. So a plane flew to India and then stopped off at India, then a plane to Nepal, and then a taxi to various different hostels and hotels and stuff while we were there. Also a bus, got several buses. Then from Nepal to India, flew again. Different parts of India we flew internal, so from south to north, and then north to west, and then flew to Thailand. And again, when I was there, coaches, we got bikes out again, walking to different places. Flew to Vietnam, and then did whole way down the Vietnamese coast. Took a moped on the back of the moped of my boyfriend all the way down into Cambodia. Cambodia to Japan was 2 flights again, and then on the way back was 2 flights back to England.
Would you travel around the whole of Asia again?
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to go back. So a variety of transport, so trains, buses, planes, walking and mopeds.
Very nice production there, Kira, that you made. So first thing I'm going to ask you is, what is the most sustainable way to travel?
So the most sustainable would probably be between buses and trains, as they produce the least amount of CO2 possible.
What about going on holiday? So is planes the best way, or could there be another way?
It depends whether you're going nationally or internationally. So nationally, I would suggest going bus or train. But if you are going internationally, you can go by plane as long as you offset your carbon emissions. So you can use something like a flight search engine, which is a company that will plant trees or invest in a solar panel project to offset your carbon emissions.
Okay. So is plane the top?
Yes.
Okay. So do you think that it could help maybe if we stopped going on holiday to international countries and we just went on holiday around this country? Would that make any difference at all? So stop using planes?
It might make a difference, but I'm not going to tell people to stop travelling because it is a big world and people should be free to travel wherever they want to.
Yeah. Is there anything else we could do to cut carbon emissions?
So there's loads of things. You could obviously offset your carbon emissions when flying, or you can hitchhike as long as it's safely, of course.
Yeah.
Or you can invest in eco-friendly products to take with you on the way so that you're reducing the amount that you're contributing to the environment.
That's great. Thank you so much for that, Kira. Next up, we're going to watch part 2 of the sustainability topics.
Fast fashion is the mass production of cheap, trendy clothing. It forms a key part of overproduction and consumption that has made fashion one of the world's largest polluters. Every year, over 1.5 trillion litres of water is wasted on the fashion industry alone. And on this trajectory, it's expected to increase by 50% come 2030. In the UK alone, we throw over 350,000 tonnes of clothing into landfill every year. In the average UK home lies around £4,000 worth of clothing, 30% of that clothing not having been worn in a year. According to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, 35% of non-biodegradable microplastics in the ocean are there because of synthetic fabrics that have been made by the fashion industry. To alleviate some of these issues, we will need to purchase more wisely and generally reduce our purchasing of clothes from large-scale manufacturing and perhaps do less laundry. Food consumption and waste are two of the biggest contributors to climate change, and research shows if we do not start making changes to our meat and dairy consumption and food waste, they will cause many problems in the future. Certain actions we currently take contribute to our health and the changing of our climate for the worse. For example, eating meat increases our chances of getting certain illnesses, including diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and cancer. The meat industry is worth an estimated £66 to £551 billion. There are some ways we can consume meat more sustainably without stopping altogether. Lamb, beef, and dairy contribute greenhouse emissions heavier than other animals like chickens and pigs. Eating meat on weekends, for instance, would cut our contribution by over 70%. Food waste is a huge problem, with over 900 million tonnes of food thrown away each year. An average UK household could save over £700 per year by only buying the food they eat. There are 7.9 billion people on the planet, spread across 195 countries. As many areas of the world continue to see increased population growth and economic development, additional energy resources and production become necessary. More people also means production of more agricultural and food resources. However, the problem lies less in the production of enough food for the world's population, but rather more so in how those food resources are distributed. For example, the United States produces a surplus of food, consumes an above average amount of food, and is a large exporter of agricultural goods. Growing populations, increasing urbanisation, increasing economic development, and rising standards of living all ultimately have environmental impacts. Such impacts include population levels, degradation of streams, rivers, oceans, further emissions of greenhouse gases, fumes from transport, among others.
A really interesting video there. I'm joined with Sophie, who voiced that video. Sophie, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are
Good,
you?
good, good. First thing I'd like to ask you is, what is your opinion on sustainability overall?
I think sustainability is something that should really be taken more seriously.
Yeah.
It's something that not a lot of people know about. You only really learn about it if you're sort of encouraged to do so. I feel like it's not something that people go out of their way to learn, and I think that's something that should be encouraged a lot more. So yeah.
So do you think that teaching it in schools would be a good step?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like if, for example, if I was taught it in high school, I'd be a lot more knowledgeable and be a lot more wary of the things that I do within my life to become more sustainable.
Did you learn it at all at school?
Not at all. We did learn about energy, obviously, because of science, but we didn't learn about the negative effects of it.
Okay.
And those kind of elements, we just learned about what it was.
So maybe we should split geography and sustainability up into two different subjects, maybe, instead of
Definitely,
putting them together.
yeah.
What will happen if we don't start changing our ways now?
Well, the planet itself will start to deteriorate completely. I feel like our lives will become a lot different, a lot more difficult. For example, because our air is becoming more polluted, we'll start to develop breathing issues, which will cause our lifespan to decrease, and just issues like that. And we'll have a lot less happier lives.
I guess that's one good thing with lockdown, is that nobody was going out, so the air was amazing.
Yeah.
What could we do to be more sustainable? Being realistic, you know, doing little things, what sort of stuff could we do?
Well, to begin with, we could encourage people to recycle more
Yeah.
and to shop more sustainably within supermarkets or, for example, fast fashion, trying to decrease the plastics, the use of cheap, trendy clothing. So if you're going on a trip to Sainsbury's, Tesco's, take your own bags to get your produce, shop more organically because that's all fresh food, it's not packages.
Yeah.
And if you're going out clothes shopping, go to a higher brand, more expensive perhaps. You know, it's worth the money to save our planet in the future.
Yeah, that is very, very true. Well, thank you ever so much for answering
Thank
the
you.
questions for me, Sophie. Our next guest is Bobby, and he'll be speaking all about fast fashion. Let's have a look.
Did you know? Cycling 10 kilometres each way to work can save you about £1,300 in transport costs. But most importantly, you will save the world 1,500 kilos of greenhouse gas emissions every year. Not a lot of people know that.
Donating clothes to charity shops, clothes recycling bins and other various clothing banks is something we as the public are advised to do, but does everything we donate actually fulfil its purpose? Textile waste is a very pressing issue. In 2018, it was reported that 350,000 tonnes of clothing was sent to landfill sites, a figure that would be shocking for most to hear. It is also reported that for every 30 kilograms of clothing disposed of, around 4.5 kilograms are recycled. The rest, well, we don't really know where that goes. Textile waste can take upwards of 200 years to fully decompose, and with so much ending in these sites, it's no surprise the effect it's having on our environment. I spoke to Chloe Ennis to hear her thoughts on sustainability and what we can do as a society to deal with the problem. Could I ask, who are you and what do you do?
Yep, so I'm Chloe Ennis. My main role is to work with businesses in East Anglia to help them adopt sustainability. So I'm just building resources and a program at the minute and helping them one-to-one. I think the key is education and awareness to start with. So That being for people to learn about what that actually is, rather than a lot of companies do something called greenwashing, whether that be they know what they're doing or not. So a lot of companies might use, say, like a bamboo textile, or I don't know, saying they use cotton and that it's sustainable because it's natural. That's not the case at all. So first you need to educate yourself before you get into sustainability. We want to look at reducing our consumption, and making sure whatever we do produce and clothing stays in the loop answers, but we have to work together to make sure everyone is empowered, because a lot of people now focus on just the environment, but it's about the people who are also impacted. So like fair wages, so there's a lot of slavery in fashion, there's like the health issues because of chemicals.
Hello, Bobby. How are you? Doing all right?
Not too bad, mate.
Good, good, good. The first thing I want to ask you is about why is fast fashion, firstly, really good video, I forgot to say. That was really interesting. Why is it a problem, though, fast fashion?
Well, from what I was looking at on my project, the amount of textile waste that comes out of fast fashion is ridiculous, to be honest. I mean, see some landfill sites all across the world, and some of them, I've seen one that's in West Africa. It's as small as a small city, apparently. So it's quite bad for all the waste, obviously, and it's definitely bad for the environment.
So how much of a problem is it? Is it big?
Oh yeah, it's a big problem,
it's quite
definitely.
A leading problem to other, yeah. Can you do anything differently by getting rid of clothes?
Well, there's many options. I mean, you can always buy expensive clothing, buy a bit more high quality, but I mean, even if you're just still buying more clothes, older clothes, recycle and pass them down to family or, siblings, people like that. And if you are donating, just be careful with where you are and do your research, make sure it's all going in the correct places, because you never want it to go in the wrong place.
So places where you can get cheap stuff like, what's that shop called, the big one?
Primark.
Primark,
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's bad, is it?
Well, I wouldn't say it's bad, but definitely in moderation.
Okay.
Don't go crazy. Just think about what you're doing when you're buying those clothes,
That's it. Thank you very much for that, Bobby.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Sky. She went to a sixth form to interview some students about, do they know what sustainability even is? Let's have a look.
Did you know more than 900 million tonnes of food is thrown away every year? Not a lot of people know that.
Do you know what sustainability is?
Yes, I do. I'm a good A-level geography student.
What is it?
Sustainability is where you conserve resources so that they're available for the next generation.
Do you think your personal actions have consequences?
Yes.
Give me an example.
For example, it depends on the food that I buy.
How much plastic do you think we waste each year?
Too much.
Give me a number.
In tonnes?
Yeah, in tonnes.
About 9 million.
Nowhere near.
9 billion.
381.
Ah, close enough.
Doesn't that shock you?
That does quite shock me.
Name 3 things you could do to reduce waste.
Buy stuff without packaging. Use bags for life when you go shopping. And use a reusable cup.
Do you shop at fast fashion retailers?
I do.
Which ones do you shop at?
The majority.
Outrageous. Would you kind of consider not shopping at them?
I would if I could afford it.
Can you name 3 ways to be more sustainable at home?
Recycling, turning off electric, buying an electric meter, like the monitor thing.
So, do you know what sustainability is?
Believe so.
What do you make of it? What do you know of it?
My understanding, sustainability, so is to protect the environment, to make sure that we do what we can to recycle and so on, reuse materials so we don't really waste and endanger the environment further, really.
Do you shop at fast fashion retailers, things like Primark or Pretty Little Things, stuff like that?
Occasionally, yes, I do. Most of my shopping I do it online, so.
Can you name 3 ways to be more sustainable at home?
Recycle, we always do make sure we recycle. We separate plastics and cardboard and so on, so they go to the correct waste. Also, we always make sure we turn the lights off if we're not around, so yes, and always making sure, being an electrical house, to make sure that we use lower rates so we don't waste so much energy around. Yeah.
Do you know what sustainability is?
No.
Can you name 3 things you would do or you could do to reduce waste?
Recycle, reuse, and that's about it.
Do you believe it's easy to be sustainable?
Yes.
How much plastic do you think we waste each year?
I don't even think I could put a number to that. Billions? 100 billions?
It's 381 million. So.
Okay.
Do you believe that public transport should be cheaper?
Yes.
Yeah. And then do you think it's easy to be sustainable?
If you are educated and have the right tools and almost your finances.
How much plastic do you think we waste each year?
A lot.
Do you have just a figure in mind you want to think of?
Million tons.
381 million tons.
Oh my god.
Name 3 things you could do to reduce waste.
The fast fashion industry could be take that down a bit, so we could reuse more old clothes to make newer clothes instead of making new ones in like sweatshops. I think reduce emissions with obviously cars by obviously taking out the old with it, because they do the whole thing with the new like gases and stuff. So basically put more electric cars, and I think also like single-use things. We could probably get rid of like single-use plastics a lot more in certain things. Like there's certain things that just don't need plastic, and maybe just use glass more instead.
Really interesting video there, some interesting opinions that we have from the students. So, did you feel like you got a good range of answers?
Definitely. There's some people that knew what sustainability was, some people that didn't. So I thought if we got like a good range of like people, ages and all that, we could really cover all bases with do students actually know what sustainability is and everything.
What was your reaction from it?
A bit shocked. Shocked that some of them didn't actually know what it was. Some of them didn't really understand like the morals and that their actions have consequences. So I was shocked, but all in all, I feel like most students do have a good understanding, which I'm quite happy with.
So do you think that definitely education needs to make a step up in teaching this?
Oh, definitely. I think they should have a little class about it, kind of opening the eyes of people about what it actually is and the impacts it has on the environment.
And all in all, how do you think the day went altogether?
It went lovely. I had a lovely day. The students were lovely, the school was lovely, the teachers were lovely, and I'm quite thankful we had the opportunity to go in there and really just have a look into another kind of, what's the word, educational situation?
Yeah.
That's a big word.
That's a big word indeed. Thank you ever so much for answering the questions, Sky. Our next guest is George, and he'll be speaking all about plastic. Let's take a look.
Did you know the UN Environment Programme's Food Waste Index revealed that 17% of the food available to consumers in shops, households and restaurants goes directly into the bin? Not a lot of people know that.
Plastic, what is it? Well, plastic is a material that can change shape easily, like plastic bags. Perfect for packaging. So why is plastic pollution such a problem? Well, sea animals get tangled in it or end up eating it. This causes around 1 million sea animals to die per year. Not only this, but it also threatens human health, as it can end up in our food and drink. The production of plastic adds to climate change, but how does the UK recycle? In the UK, 45% of plastic is recycled, so where does the rest go? Well, the rest ends up in landfill in the ocean. Around 8 to 14 million tonnes of plastic enter the ocean every year. What countries do our recycling go to? 39% goes to Turkey, 12% goes to Malaysia and 7% ends up in Poland. But why landfill? Well, the disposal of plastic is very mismanaged. This makes landfill the easiest way to dispose of our plastic. How do we change this? Well, recycle and don't litter. With 8.3 billion tonnes of plastic produced since the 1950s, it can be hard. But our planet needs to be saved.
What are the main benefits of recycling within the college?
Well, the college are always aiming to towards a more sustainable approach to everything that we do, right the way across the college, and that includes waste. We're making sure that our carbon footprint is always considered. Recycling plastic helps to reduce the amount of plastics that will end up obviously in landfill and in the waterways and the sea. the college is committed to taking responsibility for its impact on the environment. And we're always pleased that our waste all stays in the UK and is recycled in the UK, meaning that there's less air miles in the process. Some of the other providers, sort of ship the waste overseas.
Yeah. In my research that I've done, I've seen that most of our recycling ends up in Poland and Malaysia.
Yeah.
I've seen
yeah.
that most of our recycling ends up over there.
Yes, it does. Ours all ends up in the UK.
Right. Okay.
We work with a company called Algea, and they're focused on trying to sort of keep everything in the UK to reduce those air miles and to make sure that we're responsible for our sustainability.
Okay, cool. So you mentioned it stays in the UK, but what happens to the recycling once it leaves the college? Does it then go into landfill or does it get crushed down and recycled?
No, it goes to a centre in Ely where all of the waste is separated out. And anything that's recyclable is taken away. So paper is taken out, plastic is taken out, and that's then sold on as a commodity to people that can reuse the plastic.
Okay, so all the plastic from the college then gets reused and then turned into different things, I presume?
It's shredded down and then bundled up, and then it's sold as a commodity in bundles.
What could be done to encourage more people to recycle at the college?
Well, I mean, we've got bins everywhere across the college, and we've also got one of our caretakers who works across grounds, and that includes picking up litter. So, that's done on a daily basis. We don't only look after the college site, but we also look after St Peter's Pit.
Okay, yeah.
And so any waste that's thrown down there, our guys go down there and we'll pick that up as well. The next step of working with Algea is that we would like to bring recycling to the college rather than it going to the site in Ely to be recycled. We would like to do it in college. So that's the next step that we'll be looking at in the near future. I do think that we use too much plastic on site. I don't think that we should be using plastic bottles, for example, and selling them in the outlets.
Okay. What do you think we should be using instead of the plastic bottles? Cardboard or?
Well, there's these little Tetra packs, isn't there, that you can buy drinks in, and we've also got the water fountains across all sites, so people could bring their own bottles in, and perhaps that could be promoted more, so that people drink more water because it's better for you, and also it puts less plastic into the environment, doesn't it?
What negative effects does not recycling have? So you mentioned people, how to encourage them, but what negative effects does it have on the college as a whole if people aren't recycling?
If we didn't recycle plastics, they would end up in landfill, and also perhaps shipped abroad, and maybe even end up in the sea. This isn't something that we want in the college. It isn't good for moral reasons, and it wouldn't be good to leave it wouldn't leave a very good impression of the college either.
How often do the plastic skips in the college get filled up? Do they get filled up regularly?
We have on site at the moment 3 large RELs, and those RELs are like big skips, and they're emptied weekly. So as I said before, all of the general waste goes into those RELs, and that's taken
and then it gets taken away and separated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So we've just increased that. We're taking away one of those RELs because of the location, and that leaves us with 2. And we're increasing the waste collection to twice a week instead of once a week, because obviously as the college is being used more now, we're producing more waste. So that's the first step, and that's a temporary measure to then sort of bring in more recycling on site rather than it happening at Ely.
What is the best way forward for recycling at the college?
As I say, we only started working with our waste supplier just over a year ago, so we're keen to begin recycling at source. as I said, to reduce costs and to reduce the impact, or to get, to think about what we're doing more. Which does mean looking at our waste, working out what we're throwing away, and seeing how we can separate it and reduce it. This is an ongoing project that we're keen to progress to the next stage at the moment. Okay. One of the things that we've already done on site is Edmund's Restaurant. We've worked with them quite closely to as a pilot project to reduce their their general waste. So all of their food waste is being separated, their cardboard waste is being separated, and that's reduced their plastic waste by half. Well, their general waste by half.
Yeah. Okay.
And they've also spoken to their suppliers to get them to send things in cardboard packaging as much as they can, obviously, because some
to reduce the plastic.
To reduce the plastic, and also to provide their orders in things that can be sent back and then reused.
Okay, reused and recycled.
Orders, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So I'm joined with George, who did that interview that we just watched. Hello, George.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. What did you learn from the interview?
So the interview was very interesting. I learned a lot about where the plastics go and where they end up from the college. And it was very interesting finding what happens after our plastics once we've put them in the bin.
So where does the plastic go in college?
The plastic gets sent off to a recycling centre within England, and it gets crushed down and melted into tiny microplastics that are then boxed up and sent off to other companies and businesses that they'll then reuse the plastic and send them off further around the world to be made into new objects like bottles and bags.
So do you think that's good for the environment if we're reusing the plastic, or is it still, do you feel like we should just not be using plastic anymore?
Well, I think it's good that we are reusing the plastics. It saves it from going into waste and into landfill.
Yeah.
But at the same time, bits of plastic can still escape and bits. So overall, I think we should try to cut down on more of the plastic, but the fact we're recycling it is quite good though.
Okay. So do you think we could live without plastic one day?
I don't think we'll be able to live without plastic completely again, as it is kind of spread over a whole world almost. But we could definitely reduce the amount of plastic to a minimal amount from what we use at the moment.
Are there any other alternatives you could think to using plastic?
Well, we could use more cardboard for packaging and cut down on the packaging. But no new alternatives have been created instead of plastic so far.
Right.
So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, thank you ever so much for that interview, George.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that is it. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of our guests and to all the crew as well. You all did an amazing job. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.